Have you ever had that strange, quiet moment, maybe in the middle of the night, or while scrolling through photos of a life that doesn't quite feel like yours, where a small voice inside whispers, "This isn't it"? Not a dramatic breakdown, not a crisis. Just a subtle ache, like you took a wrong turn a long time ago, and now you're so deep in the woods, you've forgotten what the road even looked like. It's not failure that scares most people. It's success in the wrong direction. The haunting realization that you followed every rule, wore every mask, but somewhere along the way, you left your real self behind. That feeling, Nietzsche understood it better than most. Because long before it becomes regret, it begins with silence, the kind you trade piece by piece every time you choose safety over truth. You're watching Mind See, where the mind learns to see. You didn't click this video by accident. Something in you, even if it's faint, wants more than a well-behaved life. Because that's how it starts. You follow the script, smile when you're supposed to, nod when it's safer, ignore the quiet protest inside. It doesn't fall apart in one big moment, it slips away one compromise at a time. Until one morning you wake up and wonder, whose life is this? That isn't some cruel twist of fate. It's a predictable outcome. And Nietzsche, sharp, bitter, brutally awake, warned us, you either learn now or you suffer later. And the fact that you're still watching means there's still time to choose differently. Truth, Warren 1, you were conditioned to obey, not to think. From your earliest memories, the pattern is clear. Sit down. Follow the rules. Raise your hand. Memorize. Repeat. You're rewarded for compliance, not curiosity. Praised for remembering, not for questioning. At no point are you asked, "What do you think?" And so we mistake obedience for intelligence. We get good at imitation, at performing competence. We become adults who succeed by conforming, but forget how to question. Nietzsche saw this as the slow death of the self. Because true thinking isn't safe, it disrupts systems. It threatens conformity. And that's why most people don't think. They comply. They play roles in stories they didn't write. Until one day they realize they've built their identity on a foundation of other people's ideas. And by then, changing the script feels impossible. Truth number 2. Most people crave comfort more than truth. Tell someone the truth, a real truth, not a flattering one, and chances are they won't thank you. They'll retreat. Because truth isn't soft. It isn't curated. It doesn't care if you're ready. Comfort, though. Comfort is easy. Comfort is affirmation without confrontation. It gives you warm, predictable illusions, and people cling to them like lifeboats. Nietzsche saw through the charade. We say we want honesty, but really we want soothing. Easy slogans, convenient beliefs. We don't want to be awakened. We want to be protected from the shock of waking up. But truth waits. And when it crashes through your life, it won't ask permission. By then, the cost of denial is steep. And for most, it's too late to rebuild from scratch. Truth number 3, pain isn't punishment. It's revelation. Most of us treat pain like it's the enemy. Avoid it, numb it, distract from it. But Nietzsche saw it differently, as a mirror that shows you who you really are. To live is to suffer, he wrote. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. Pain isn't just discomfort. It's information. It tells you what matters. What you fear shows you what you're attached to. What breaks you shows you where you were already cracked. But instead of listening, we run. We sedate. We delay. And pain waits patiently, because it knows eventually you'll have to face it. Nietzsche believed the only way out is through. Avoiding pain doesn't protect you. It delays your becoming. And by the time most realize pain was the teacher, not the threat, they've already lost years of potential growth. Truth number 4, the crowd is seductive, but rarely right. There's a comfort in numbers. Belonging gives you clarity, purpose, even identity. It's easy to believe something when everyone else around you echoes it. But Nietzsche warned us the crowd doesn't think it reacts. It doesn't reflect, it amplifies. And worst of all, it punishes difference. He wrote, "Madness is rare in the individual, but in groups, parties, nations, it is the rule." When you surrender your mind to the crowd, you're not finding truth, you're trading it for validation. And by the time you realize the collective was wrong, you've already given up the one thing that made you unique, your selfhood. To live your own life, you have to disappoint the crowd. And Nietzsche knew most people won't do that until they've already betrayed themselves. Truth, verse 5. Kindness without strength invites exploitation. You were likely taught to be kind, to be agreeable, to put others first. But no one told you the darker side of that equation. Kindness, Nietzsche believed, becomes dangerous when it isn't backed by strength. Because without power, your compassion becomes a vulnerability. Predators don't respect niceness. They exploit it. Takers don't pause when you're generous. They see an opening. The weak are forced to lie, he said. Because without strength, you can't afford honesty. You shrink yourself. Swallow your voice. Say yes when you mean no all to keep the peace. But peace without power isn't peace. It's surrender. Real kindness, the kind that changes lives, comes from someone who's rooted in strength. Soft and sharp. Open and unafraid. But most people only learn this after being walked over, worn down, and wondering why they always feel unseen. Truth, number 6. Discipline isn't about motivation, it's about self-respect. Most people chase motivation like it's a spark they need to find. They scroll through quotes, watch pep talks, wait for the right mood. But Nietzsche would have smirked at that. Because if you're waiting to feel ready, you're already giving away your power. Discipline isn't about force, it's about alignment. It's not punishment, it's identity. You brush your teeth not because you're inspired, but because it's part of who you are. You honor commitments, even small ones, because you respect yourself enough not to betray them. Nietzsche saw discipline as the visible shape of inner integrity. It's not fueled by hype, but by meaning. If your actions only happen when you're in the mood, your life becomes a slave to chaos. But when you move from values, especially when it's hard, you become unshakable. People don't usually realize this until after they've abandoned goals, missed windows of opportunity, and lost trust in their own word. They think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is self-respect. Truth, number 7, is people will support your growth until it threatens their identity. At first, everyone cheers you on. Go for it. Proud of you, you've changed. But change too much evolve past the version of yourself they're comfortable with, and something shifts. People grow distant. Some get cold. Others even mock you. Nietzsche didn't sugarcoat this. He believed people aren't always malicious, they're just protective of the roles they've assigned you. Your growth unsettles their comfort zone. Because if you can change it, forces them to face the fact that they haven't. When you start setting boundaries or speaking with clarity or refusing to shrink anymore, you're not being difficult. You're just no longer willing to fit inside someone else's limited version of you. Most people only learn this after losing relationships they thought were unbreakable. But the truth is, those connections were built on the old version of you, the one who didn't yet know how to stand tall. And that version is gone. Truth, number 8. If you don't face your shadow, it will run your life from the dark. Every one of us has a shadow. The parts we were told to hide: anger, envy, shame, fear, selfishness. Nietzsche, like Jung after him, didn't believe in pretending those parts didn't exist. Because ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It makes it louder. When you suppress your darkness, it seeps out sideways. You say something cruel accidentally. You sabotage something good for no reason. You overreact, underreact, or numb out. That's not random. That's the shadow pulling the strings you won't look at. Nietzsche believed that true power doesn't come from appearing perfect. It comes from integration, from meeting your darkness, understanding it, and learning to work with it. Imagine locking a child in a basement for years. Eventually, they will scream, break things, demand to be seen. Your shadow is no different. The longer you exile it, the more chaos it creates. But when you finally face it, when you stop pretending to be harmless and instead learn to be whole, that's when you become truly free. Most people realize this only after they've ruined something they loved and blamed life, when really it was the parts of themselves they were too afraid to acknowledge. Truth number 9. People-pleasing is the fastest way to forget who you are. On the surface, being agreeable looks kind. You say yes. You avoid conflict. You keep the peace. But beneath that surface, something starts to rot. Your clarity, your instincts, your identity. Nietzsche saw people-pleasing for what it really is, a fear response. The fear of rejection, of confrontation, of being alone. When you constantly cater to what others want, you lose the ability to hear your own voice. You second-guess yourself into silence. You become so used to being what they expect you, forget what you need. And here's the tragic part: the more you perform for people, the less they know the real you. You teach them to love your mask, not your truth. Eventually, that truth claws its way to the surface. And when it does, the people around you may not accept it. Not because they're cruel, but because they were never introduced to the real you to begin with. Most people only realize this when they look around and feel profoundly unknown. But it wasn't them who abandoned you. It was you every time you chose approval over authenticity. Truth, jure. You can check every box and still feel empty. We're told there's a formula: get the degree, land the job, marry well, stay out of trouble. If you do it all right, fulfillment will follow. But Nietzsche saw through the illusion. He warned that a life lived by instruction often leads not to joy, but to quiet despair. Because doing everything right doesn't mean you've lived authentically. It often means you've lived someone else's idea of what life should be. And when you finally get there after the effort, the sacrifice is the years you expect the reward to be wholeness. But instead, you feel nothing. An ache. A question. Why don't I feel complete? Nietzsche believed this emptiness comes from trading truth for structure, from following a path without asking who laid it, from suppressing desire in favor of approval. And by the time people realize that their life is already built, the mortgage, the marriage, the expectations, they feel too far in to start over, so they numb the ache. But there is another way. You stop asking, what am I supposed to do? And start asking, what is mine to do? That question, raw and personal, is how you begin rewriting the story. Not with more hustle, not with more success, but with more truth. Truth, the number 11, meaning is rare and attention is not a substitute. We live in a time where being seen feels like the goal. Likes, shares, comments, followers. It gives us the illusion of being valued. But Nietzsche would have called it what it is: performance. Attention is fast. It's loud. It's addictive. But it's not the same as meaning. Because meaning isn't found in the eyes of others. It's found in what you see when you're alone. Nietzsche believed true meaning comes from depth. From work that aligns with your essence. From words that matter, even if they echo in silence. From living in alignment with what's real, even if no one claps. The danger is that most people confuse the spotlight with substance. They get applause, but still feel unknown. They build a persona that's rewarded and lose the self that was quietly starving for authenticity. And by the time they realize it, they've built a life that feels performative but not lived. Truth, chapter 12. Death doesn't steal from you. It clarifies you. We think of death as the enemy, a thief that cuts life short. But Nietzsche didn't fear it. He saw it as a mirror, because when you remember that time is finite, you remember what actually matters. He posed a haunting question. If you had to live this life over and over for eternity, exactly as it is, would you say yes? Most people would hesitate. And that's the point. That hesitation is a spotlight on what's untrue in your current life. Death strips away excuses. It reveals procrastination for what it is: denial. It asks hard questions not later, but now. Are you spending your time or wasting it? Are you performing love or truly giving it? Are you living or just continuing? Most people only ask these things when loss forces their hand. When someone's gone, when they're given a diagnosis, when time stops feeling infinite and starts feeling like a countdown. By then, it's not death that terrifies them. It's the unlived life that came before it. Truth, Mahern 13, freedom costs everything that was fake. Nietzsche's final truth is the one people resist the most, because it's not poetic, it's not romantic, it's brutal. To be free, truly free, not just externally, but psychologically, you must let go of everything that kept you safe, but wasn't real. The fake friendships, the approval addiction, the performance, the stories you told yourself to avoid the truth. Freedom isn't handed to you. It's earned by subtraction, by shedding what isn't you. But here's the terrifying part. Most people want a little freedom without losing their illusions. They want authenticity, but still want to be liked. They want truth, but still want to belong. Nietzsche knew better. He saw that real freedom feels lonely at first. Because when you stop performing, you might lose people. You might lose status. You might lose comfort. But what you gain is real self that doesn't need to be curated. A peace that doesn't rely on performance. A voice that doesn't tremble when it speaks. Most people don't learn this until they feel like strangers in their own lives. Until they look in the mirror and realize the person they became was just a series of compromises. You've just heard 13 truths that most people only discover when it's already too late. But Nietzsche didn't offer these to shame you. He wasn't trying to scare you. He was trying to wake you up. Every single truth is a fork in the road. Ignore it and you drift. Listen to it and you begin. And maybe you're not ready to change everything. That's okay. Change never starts with action. It starts with awareness. But don't let this just be another video you watch and forget. If one of these truths hit, you shook something loose, hold on to it. Let it echo. Let it irritate. Let it provoke something deeper. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these truths hit the hardest? Which one are you still wrestling with? Drop it in the comments. Let it be real. And if you felt seen by this video, subscribe. Because we're building more than a channel. We're building a space for those of you who think differently, who want more than surface-level answers, who crave honesty even when it hurts. Welcome to Mindsea. You're not late. You're just beginning with the truth.